So, funny story for you.
Oh, good. I love these.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of proud of this one.
Oh.
So, when I was in college, I went to a school called Framingham State. Shout out. And at Framingham State at the time, it was a dry campus, and I mean dry. Okay.
I can't imagine.
Can you,
on a dry campus? Did you choose this school?
It was more like that was the school that chose me.
Okay, they didn't know you very well.
They did not. They did not. They did not. And it was a very dry campus. And we, as a rugby team, we drank a lot of beer. So we were fortunate enough to have our club advisor, who was the chief of campus police.
Oh, that works out.
Oh, life was so great. Life was great. So funny side story, and the big story. So I had blown my knee out in the game one day. And I tore my meniscus, and I was on crutches, and I was literally hobbling down the street in crutches, going to the rugby house's party, and this cruiser pulls up, a campus cop, and he just rolls his window down. He goes, "Hey, Daryl, how you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, Paul, how are you?" We knew these guys by name. They were our advisors. He goes, "Where you going?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just going to the rugby house." He goes, "Oh, you going to Fody's house?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Get in, I'll drive you." I'm like, "All right." So I put my crutches in the back, and I get in the car, and we're driving, just kind of, talking. He goes, "Hey, we get to Fody's house," and I get out of the car, and I'm saying, "Hey, thanks, Paul." And he gets on the loud mic, goes, "Hey, Dale, when you're ready to come home, just give us a phone call. We'll come pick you up." And there's like 80 people outside, a couple hundred people inside, and they're all panicking because there's this cruiser pull up.
Right.
And they're panicking, and then I get out, and he's like, "Hey, Dale, just let us know when you're ready to come home. We'll come pick you up." So anyway, Framingham State was a very dry campus, okay? And we had a bunch of dormitories, and one was called Towers. You can imagine it was a big tower. Okay?
Every campus has one.
Yeah, every campus has one.
We had them too, yeah.
And this was a Saturday night, as rugby stories usually happen on.
Yes.
And
Saturday is a rugby day.
Saturday
is a rugby day.
is a rugby day.
There's a song about it.
There is. And we ended up with like an extra keg of beer.
How is that possible?
Well, we bought 3 kegs of beer. Okay, the 2 teams, we drank each a keg of beer, and then we had 1 keg of beer left over. And our drinking spot at the time was, you had to cross this train track, cross this bridge, this trestle, and then go down, and there was this open field, like by a river. So like that was our drinking spot.
Okay.
It was awesome. It was great. Okay. So we're like, what are we gonna do with this keg? I mean, we used to keep the kegs in the river because it kept them cold.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Smart.
So yeah, every now and then, we have a good idea. So we have this extra keg of beer, and like everybody on the team had kind of tapped out. Like, yeah, we're done, going home, blah blah. And it was like me and like 6 guys, and we're like, look, we think we can finish this keg.
Oh god.
The 6 of us, we're like,
of course.
we can finish this keg. And I'm like, well, it's getting dark. I don't want to be out here in the woods all night. What do you want to do? And long story short, we figure out an idea. Let's go to the dorms and drink in the dorms. How are we going to get our kegs in the dorms? Well,
this is the kind of reasoning that happens for young men after they've had a keg of beer.
Yes. Not a couple of beers, not a couple of 6-packs. This is what happens when you've already had a keg of beer in you.
Yes. Okay.
So we pull up our car. Yes, we were driving. We pull up our car to the back of Towers. Okay. And so we got this one guy named Fester. Okay, the name was apt. Fester's waiting for us to concoct some plan.
Okay.
So me, a guy named Lenny, a guy named Potsy, figure that one out, and a guy named Digby. I hated Digby. Funny story about Digby, many funny stories, but I hated Digby.
What if these people are watching you?
That's okay. Digby, I don't like you. So anyway, we're in Towers, and we're trying to figure out how to get this barrel in. This is a barrel of beer. This isn't like a little ball. This is a keg of beer. And Digby comes up with this idea. He goes like, I know how we can get this in. I'm like, how? He goes, I'll drop my rappelling gear out the window and we'll pull it up. And I'm like, that's not a half bad idea. So anyway, now we need to find a room on the west side of Towers that will let us do this. Now me, the ever-loving diplomat I am, I'm trying to figure out, who do we know, blah, blah. And Digby's like, no, I got this. We go down the hall, and he knocks on this girl's door. She opens the door, and the first words out of her mouth, she opens the door and she goes, "Fuck you, Digby." And I'm like, oh my God, this is not the person.
Going well.
This is not the person. And Digby just pushes the door open and we go in. And she's yelling and screaming. And we tie the end of the rope to the radiator and drop the rappelling harness out the window. We pull a keg of beer up. This is a keg of beer.
How did you even like you used the harness?
Yeah, it was a
for the
rappelling
person,
harness. Yeah,
so
and put the keg of beer in it. Pull the keg of beer up. It took all of us to hold the ropes to pull the keg of beer up. We get the keg of beer in. She's flipping out. She's yelling and screaming. And then Potsy. Now, here's the funny thing about Potsy. Potsy was 32 years old.
in college.
Living in the dorms.
Okay.
32.
No judgment.
32. He was a
I'm
little
sure
off.
there's a story there.
Oh my God, I could tell the Potsy stories. I'll tell a funny Potsy story. Okay, Potsy is his nickname. Probably forget. He smoked a lot of weed. I mean, a lot of weed. And in 1993, there for one reason or another, there's this huge weed drought. Nobody could get weed for any reason. There's no weed. And Potsy, we were all panicking because like Potsy was like, his name was Potsy for God's sakes.
Right.
And he had this way of talking because he was always high. He would talk like this. So, what are we doing, guys? We're gonna go drinking tonight? I got some weed. No, Potsy, we're good. No, let's go drinking. Like he had this we thought he had a speech impediment.
Right.
For a year, we thought he had a speech impediment because every conversation, hey, Potsy, what's up, guys? Like, wow. And that's why you're 32 years old in college. Okay. So the great weed drought happened. And one day we go down, and he never went to class. Ever. He never went to class. And he was a trust fund baby, if you didn't figure that one out, okay? And the trust stated that in order for you to inherit the money, you gotta get a college education.
Oh.
That was the story of Potsy. Anyway, so we're in the cafeteria one day, and we see this clean-cut preppy kid sitting at our table. We go up and hey, Potsy? He's like, gentlemen, how are you today?
No.
We're like, dude, you all right? He's like, yes, I have a lot of work to do. I'm studying.
No.
So I've been behind and I've been neglecting my work. We're like, Potsy? Yes.
Totally different person. Oh my gosh.
Week later, the weed fountain comes back.
I was getting hopeful that he was gonna graduate.
Nope. Week later, the weed's flowing again. All of a sudden, it's back to.
Oh.
So what's up, guys? So anyway, back to the town. So we get the keg of beer in.
Okay.
Potsy grabs the keg of beer, and he's holding the keg of beer, and he starts running down the hall with this keg of beer. This is a dry campus. It's a dry campus, and he's running down the hall to the elevator. Gets in the elevator. We're all looking for a penny and for a pound. We get in the elevator. Go down a couple floors to Lenny's room. Go in Lenny's room and we're drinking. Having a good, we made it, right?
You made it. Tap the keg.
Tap the keg. So we start saying, hey, let's call some people. Let's have a party.
Oh.
Okay, we got a keg of beer in. Okay. And now there's 10, 12 people in the room. We're just partying and they're keg and they're drinking. And then all of a sudden you hear, R.A. Shit. Everyone's panicking.
Right. How do you hide a keg of beer?
How do you hide a keg of beer? So.
Blankets.
Nope. No? This is what I said. I'm the senior rugby player in the room.
Oh, God.
I'm like, nope. I don't want a single person hide in a cup. Don't hide the barrel. And everyone's like, we get expelled for this. I'm like, no, you're good. Trust me. R.A. I said, open the door. R.A. comes in. This R.A. comes in and he was furious. One of those little guys who had a little bit of power and now is abusing it. And he's like, I'm gonna write you all up, and all of you, and we're all like, yeah. And then finally, I'm like, look, here's how this is gonna happen. You're gonna sit down and you're gonna have a beer with us. No, I'm not. You got you. I'm like, yeah, yes, you are. Because guess what? If you report this, we're all getting kicked out of campus, and I guarantee you, there will be people in this room who will take that very, very badly. So you look around, and you make a decision. Either you sit down and pretend like this didn't happen and have a beer, or you suffer the consequences. And everyone in the room was kind of doing the math,
dude,
if I get kicked out, I've got nothing to lose.
Oh no.
I'm gonna kick your ass.
Oh no.
And I'm like, so what are you gonna do? And he's like, he sits down and has a beer. The most uncomfortable beer of his life.
I'm sure.
That's a college story.
Smart guy.
That's my story.
What did we learn about you? You can be threatening when you need to.
I could be a complete asshole.
Oh my God.
I could be a complete bastard. The next time I'm going to tell you guys a story of the time I took all my college rookies to a party on dog leashes.
Oh
That's a funny one. Anyway, champagne every day.
Oh, fun stuff.